P.F. Young mentioning the difference in political debates versus conversations as a means to expound on truth. It seems like he's referencing me specifically, even though he doesn't mention my name.
Many people believe that political debate is a bad way of getting to the truth.
Yup, singing my song.
Especially when it comes to complex and controversial issues. So in this video, I want to provide you a League of Legends based framework that helps you...
Okay, the one thing I will say about this guy, League of Legends, who plays this? Okay? I don't think anybody plays this game. I'm assuming a lot of people do play this game, but I have never played this game one time. I feel like this is a dead game. Okay? Make it about Fortnite if you want to bring in a new audience. League of Legends people, I'm assuming they're just playing a League of Legends. Okay?
Understand the mechanics of debate, as well as know when debate is and is not a reliable sense-making mechanism. A debate can be thought of like a duel between two opponents. In League of Legends, there are three key factors that will determine who will win a 1v1 duel. They are the fact of the matchup, player skill, and itemization and ability level. A player can have an advantage or disadvantage in one or more of these dimensions, and the probability of winning the duel is based on the net consideration of all three factors. By the same token, when it comes to 1v1 debates, there are also three key factors that will determine who wins the debate. They are the fact of the matter, rhetorical skill, and evidence and information. Once again,
Christopher Hitchens, great reference.
And a debater can have an advantage or disadvantage in any of these dimensions, and it will affect the likelihood of them winning the debate. Let's break all of this down in more detail. In League of Legends, there are different champions with different abilities, strengths, and weaknesses, and some champions are said to be counters to other champions. For example, a very mobile, high-damage burst assassin like Fizz will directly counter immobile, slow-moving DPS champions like Kog'Maw. The degree to which a champion counters another is called the fact of the matchup. Some 1v1 matchups will be very one-sided, with one champion being a clear counter to the other, while other matchups might be very even, because neither champion has a natural advantage over the other.
I get it, I get it, I get it. I will say, I don't know the transfer rate here. It's entirely possible that everybody who loves League of Legends also is obsessed with politics and debate. I don't know if that's true, though. Okay, so like videos like this, for me, from him, are my least favorite videos from him. And if I were just to look at some of his videos, like let's take a gander. I don't think these like League of Legends things, yeah, like look at this, 6.3, his just, you know, general, whoever, we're talking about this guy, we're talking about all these different ideologies. We're just having, you know, random long form conversations. They do better than these champion spotlight League of Legends things, which, you know, to hear him talk about it, the format for it is incredible. I don't know if the amount of crossover is there that you think is. That being said, if it gets people to watch, awesome.
Player skill refers to a player's ability to make good decisions with quick reaction times when playing a given champion. Contrary to what you might think, I did not just pick a random Korean person to represent someone who is good at video games, although that is something I would do. This is Faker, who is basically the LeBron James of League of Legends. A highly skilled player will beat a lower skilled player most of the time, unless they are in a very unfavorable matchup or they are behind in items and ability level. Items and ability levels increase the raw stats of your champion. And if one champion is much further ahead than the other in this dimension, it doesn't matter how favorable the matchup is or how skilled the opposing player is, the champion with the overwhelming raw stats lead is going to win. Now, here is the important thing.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, this is just popping into my head as he's saying this. My guess is, you know, he's drawing the parallel between the items and ability points and these things being unassailable win cons, essentially. If that is analogized with the, you know, evidence and these types of things, you can have all the evidence in a debate and still get rolled very easily, as opposed to if you're over leveled or over itemed or whatever the specific, you know, mechanics are for numbers in League of Legends. If you're blowing the other person out of the water with that, you can suck at everything else completely and still just dominate the match because of that. Evidence is not nearly as strong as, player skill or, pathos rhetorical devices in debates.
To understand. If in a 1v1 matchup, we assume that both champions have the same ability levels with equivalent itemization, and we assume that both champions are being played at a game optimal level with minimal to zero mistakes, we can posit that if we run enough iterations of the matchup, we will be able to identify the fact of the matchup based on who has the higher win rate. If both champions win roughly the same amount of time, the fact of the matchup is that neither champion is a counter to the other. But if one champion consistently beats the other, we can say that the fact of the matchup is that one champion is a counter to the other. We can apply this framework in a roughly analogous way to political debates. In any political debate, you will have what we can call the fact of the matter. This is the degree to which one side of the debate more corresponds to reality than the other. For example, in debates about the shape of the Earth, the side arguing that the Earth is flat is going to be less reflective of reality than the side arguing that the Earth is round. Allegedly. Other debate topics are not as cut and dry, such as a debate over whether or not a large country should adopt a complex regulation relating to some part of the economy. Rhetorical skill refers to a debater's ability to make emotional or rhetorical appeals independent of the fact of the matter and without using any particular evidence or information. Christopher Hitchens is famous for this skill.
My own opinion is enough for me, and I claim the right to have it defended against any consensus, any majority, anywhere, any place, any time. And anyone who disagrees with this can pick a number, get online, and kiss my ass.
Evidence and information refers to the degree to which a debater knows particular facts, studies, and statistics related to the debate topic. The purpose of debate is to...
So this is actually interesting because we were just mentioning a debate that happened relatively recently between Gary Stevenson and some other guy. Gary Stevenson, from all apparent consensus, won that debate. He didn't win it via any kind of evidence. Any clips, any parts of that debate that I've seen, he cites like no numbers. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but his opponent comes with numbers, comes with facts, comes with, a great, beautiful dossier of facts of the matter. He gets rolled because of the rhetorical skill. Now, again, the evidence and information, if you're analogizing that with the items and ability scores, the raw stats of your character in a game are going to matter way more than other factors. Okay. It's only if that thing is equal that you can even approach looking at, the facts of the matter or rhetorical skill or any, player skill, whatever. It's only if those things are equal. Evidence and information is much less of an immediate, win condition.
Identify the fact of the matter to see if one side of the debate is a true counter to the other. In League of Legends, if we did not know if one champion countered another, we would have them duel, ideally in repeated matchups with the conditions described previously. And if one champion won more than the other, we could identify the fact of the matchup. But here's the key issue. If we paired champions together in repeated matchups, but we had imbalanced player skill levels or uneven amounts of gold or ability levels, then the win rates would be an unreliable guide to the true fact of the matchup. Every League of Legends player knows that Fizz should be able to beat Kog'Maw in virtually every 1v1 duel. But if Fizz is behind in items or underleveled or just played by someone who's absolute garbage, then he might lose to Kog'Maw 10 times out of 10. And having an artificially low win rate as a result, thus obfuscating the true fact of the matchup. When people claim debate is not a good sense-making mechanism, they are pointing to this issue. Just because someone appears to win a debate does not mean that they are on the side that is actually more reflective of reality. An imbalance between the debaters in terms of rhetorical skill or evidence and information can obscure the true fact of the matter. In debate,
I will also say that the fact of the matter, he's mentioned this, P.F. Young already mentioned this, but the fact of the matter is rarely as cut and dry as, the Earth is a sphere in space versus, a flat plane.
Someone like Destiny or Andrew Wilson will always destroy an idiotic debate opponent, no matter how incorrect their actual claims are.
Sure, but then there's a chance that Israel says, okay, well, we're not going to be your friend anymore. And they say, fuck you. And then they...
Okay, and then what happens?
Then we have no more influence that we can exert over Israel.
Okay, and then what happens?
Israel would look for other partners either in the region, so maybe they would look more favorably upon people like Iran, or they would maybe look internationally to people like China
Say that again?
or Russia.
Who? Israel would look favorably upon who?
Maybe they would try to work with Iran or something. I don't know.
Iran, the nation that says death to Israel. So you're saying if we cut off aid to Israel entirely, Israel could then start to align themselves more with Iran?
Potentially. I don't know what would happen 100%.
Okay,
but
that's
potentially.
What a wonderful thing. What could bring more peace to the Middle East than that? You're saying if tomorrow...
Oh, okay. He actually, oh, okay. I get it. All right. That was that is weird because essentially, obviously the real frame there was that Israel just looks for other partners, not Iran specifically.
Hypothetically, we made condoms and birth control illegal.
Mm-hmm.
You think that out of wedlock births would go down?
They would almost be eradicated in society immediately.
That's interesting.
Option 1, debunk the claim using the endless amount of evidence to the contrary. Option 2, accept the claim as possible because you don't know the bare minimum to refute it. Yeah, I also don't know the bare minimum to refute this. It does seem like that wouldn't be the case, but it also does seem like there's evidence that would, prove that not to be the case. There you go.
Now, I could see that being a possibility.
Okay.
In both of these instances, this idiot appears to have lost a debate because of an insufficiency in either rhetoric or particular facts. In the first instance, this idiot possessed all of the relevant facts needed to counter the rather absurd claim that Israel might ally itself with Iran if the US doesn't support them, but because he lacks the rhetorical ability to apply these facts, he simply accepts his opponent's frame and therefore validates it.
In short, if you take the other side's terms, if you're opposing something, some political position, and they define a term in terms of a frame that fits their ideology, if you argue against the term, it's just the same as arguing for it. You're evoking it, and you're reinforcing it in the minds of the public.
What a wonderful thing. What could bring more peace to the Middle East than that? In the second...
Again, I will say here specifically, the frame is not, that Destiny is trying to evoke here, is not specifically Iran. It's seeking other partners, which is completely reasonable.
Instance, there was an imbalance in terms of facts and evidence. This idiot simply was not aware of the plethora of studies that utterly refute his opponent's claim. These are both examples of someone appearing to lose a debate. They're utterly...
Now, these specific studies are also looking at it in a specific, ecosystem, wherein which condoms and birth control and these types of things are available in other places, and there is a cultural mindset that has been influenced by the fact that they've been around forever. It's not to say that, again, this is not good evidence that could be used to refute that claim, but Andrew Wilson does have a point that, I don't think that, just purely getting away with any kind of birth control would absolutely lead to just, a giant skyrocketing of teen pregnancies.
Refute his opponent's claim. These are both examples of someone appearing to lose a debate, thereby giving the impression that their opponent might actually be on the right side of the fact of the matter. The biggest problem with political debate, unlike a duel in League of Legends, is that there's actually no objective way to determine who wins or loses, barring some notable exceptions.
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
The best thing we can do is identify when a debate is sufficiently balanced in terms of rhetoric and facts and information, such that it has a higher likelihood of allowing us to identify the true fact of the matter. In my opinion, the single biggest marker of a debate like this is when it has something called regression to the rhetorical mean. Very often, strong debaters will have a habit of destroying opponents using overwhelming rhetorical force in which they exude a great deal, almost absurd level of confidence. However, when these people are matched up with opponents who they know can actually mount a real challenge to their beliefs, they will make a very obvious regression to very low energy, almost polite rhetoric. This is clear in the entire debate between Destiny and Ben Shapiro, in which...
This is true. It is also a difference in terms of, how you're going to approach this stuff. Is this a debate or is it a conversation? Now, again, this is why I don't necessarily want to get into a conversation with any of these people like a Ben Shapiro or a Destiny, because they know they can turn it into a debate and win. Even if you're just like, I'm just getting into this for a conversation, there's a possibility that you're, laid back enough and cool enough to just be spitballing and actually have a conversation as a conversation. Or there's also the possibility, much more likely, that they're going to sense the weakness and they're going to go, no, I'm going to advance my position. Now, maybe you don't have a position to advance. You're literally just coming in for education. That is, I think, the only possibility where you could get a conversation out of these people. It's going to be a biased conversation, but at the very least, you're going to get more laxity in their approach to you. If you're not coming in going, oh yeah, no, I'm on the other side of this issue. I want to debate you. I want to fight you on this. Well, they're going to fight you too. It's just that they're way better equipped to have that fight.
Neither raised their voice even once, and no one got, quote, destroyed. It's clear in Douglas Murray's debate with Dave Smith on the specific topic of Israel propping up Hamas for cynical political gain, in which you can just tell Douglas Murray lacks any rhetorical strength in his response to this point. And it's clear in Nick Fuentes' debate with Jay Dyer, in which they have what I believe is a critical philosophical debate over the religious foundations of the new far right. A regression to the rhetorical mean is not a surefire way of being able to know that you'll properly identify or get something out of a debate, but it is a reliable marker that has guided me so far. With all that being said, hopefully this was useful. My schizo frameworks sometimes don't land, but if they did in this case, excellent. Until next time, good luck and Godspeed.
All right. So again, PF Young, I like the guy. He's doing pretty well, I gotta say. And again, as I will always say with this guy, massive props, huge admiration from me to him over his ability to network and talk with a lot of people that are, seemingly way above what he should be able to get in terms of interviews and these things. I don't know if that sounds bad. It feels like it's a compliment. So good luck to him in all of his endeavors. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I'll say farewell for now.